All right. If we're just making stuff up, hey, respect. We went from radical Antifa to radical Islamist Hamasist, Hasanabi. Oh my God, we're going to have someone in mainstream media call me Hasanabi by accident. Oh my God. I'm saying it. You're on Fox News, baby girl? I don't care. Oh yeah, that shit don't mean nothing, dude. Let me guess. It's another smear operation. Let me guess. Like on the main channel or where? Or is it on the digital side? Because I don't see it. I don't see it on my like on the actual live channel. Wait, really? What are they doing? Oh shit, let's go. Okay, I do care about that. That's funny.
One more point from AOC saying, oh, there's all this money coming in to conflate criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism.
Let's go.
I am sorry. After October 7th, this is not about criticism of Israel or the Israeli government.
I think I'm going to go to jail, by the way. That's like, okay. This might actually cause me to go to jail, low-key, but high-key.
Genocidal slogans about the Jewish state.
Yeah.
They talk about intifada glowingly. They support Hamas, a genocidal terrorist
I might
group
literally
with American
be going to
blood
jail
on their hands. It is a fallacy to pretend, oh, we can't criticize the government of Israel. That is not the issue here.
Congratulations to all my haters, bro. You did it. All the liberals.
Constantly.
At least the nickname fits. Piker.
What does that mean?
Definitely a piker, this guy.
So, you know, Lauren, I feel like there's been almost a theme here throughout these last hour and a half, and is that the Democrats are still trying to find a direction. They're still trying to find someone. And it's just so surprising, some of the people who are floating to the top.
Did you see, so maybe a month ago, Pete Buttigieg went on a podcast, an all-male podcast with a largely male audience. And the first thing I noticed, and I thought it was just me because I pick up on these little things, I'm like, oh, he looks different. He had a beard. And then going into the podcast, he said a curse word. And I was like, what happened to Pete Buttigieg? They're trying to portray this manly image because they realize they lost a lot of young voters, specifically young men voters, and they're trying to bring them back by bringing manly back again. But I'm not sure this is how you do it.
Hey guys, just make sure to, hey guys, remember, Ethan was called a Zionist for calling himself a Zionist, and who could say what's more harmful overall? Who could say what's more harmful overall? Any day now. Sure, there'll be think pieces written about it that will inevitably lead to the government changing their attitude and arresting people for being pro-Israel. Is there a way to go back? Wait, we'll try to see if we can find the full rewind 8 minutes right after the ad break for your segment. Oh, hell yeah. Thank you.
Advertise to grow your business today.
Thank you for finding this, Demasius.
Looks to continue for
Let's see.
personal journey
How many times is like Asmongold and shit talked about cancel culture and how people are trying to cancel him and how they're free speech defenders? Will they come to my defense? Will they actually come to my defense? Who knows? Who knows?
Harris Faulkner, and this is America's most
Diving headfirst into the manosphere to woo male voters ahead of 2028. But they'll have to compete with the digital bro world's new rising star, far-left activist Hasan Piker. The New York Times calls the viral streamer, quote, made for the manosphere, in their glowing profile detailing his good looks, fashion choices, and influence over Gen Z. The only thing they forgot to mention is his pro-Hamas radical anti-Semitic views. Watch.
October 7 was a retaliation for an ongoing apartheid. Doesn't matter if rapes happen on October 7. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic. Any kind of Zionist tendency should be treated in the same way as being a oh, hell yeah. Okay, respect. I mean, the doesn't matter. It doesn't change the dynamic. For me, one is out of context, but they're doing the thing. They're doing the thing where they show actual full-blown quotes. YouTube Hasanabi, what the rabid neo-Nazi? You shouldn't even let someone be the local dog catcher as if they've ever exhibited positive feelings about the state of Israel.
And there's more where that came from. But the internet doesn't care. TikTokers can't get enough of him.
He's intelligent, he's tall. I think Hasan Piker is the picture-perfect man.
He is just so fine. And the fact that he's politically smart as well.
Very smart. He has very interesting, very creative ideas. He achieved a lot. He is not the kind of guy to tell you that he loves you. He's the kind of guy to show you with his actions.
Okay. He's got lawmakers wrapped around his finger, too. AOC and Bernie Sanders sat down on his YouTube show last month to
lawmakers
talk about
wrapped around his
activist
fingers.
Mahmoud Khalil.
I wish I could get them. I wish I could get them to take action. I wish I had them wrapped around my fingies, you know? You run Congress now. Oh my God, bro. They're doing the thing. They're doing the thing. They're literally saying shit that you wish was the reality, where they're like, oh, he doesn't just control the media. He controls Congress now. It is pretty crazy to have Fox News coming out and behaving in this like insane manner.
The erosion of civil liberties is happening all around. I'm, of course, talking about Mahmoud Khalil.
It goes without saying that there is still profound money and interest that remains dedicated on both sides of the aisle in trying to marginalize and also conflate criticism of Israel as anti-Semitism. Right. And we have to be very aware of that.
Lauren, that was March 20th, okay?
Yeah.
2 sitting members of Congress went on a podcast hosted by someone who said in November of last year, it doesn't matter if rapes happened on October 7th. And AOC right now is being talked about as the future of the.
Yeah, I mean, most people in the media understand what that quote is, by the way. Like, they do. And I've had people who are I've had people who I wouldn't even expect to be charitable to me reach out about that as well.
The Democratic Party.
Yeah, I know. And that female in the TikTok video said, he's the type of guy not to tell you that he loves you, but to show you that he loves you. And we just quoted him as saying, doesn't matter if rape.
Yeah, don't listen to before or after. Guys, do you think this will cause Ethan's community to self-reflect? I don't think so. I'm joking. Of course not.
Happened on October 7th. And AOC, you're right, and Bernie Sanders sitting down with him. A Democrat from New York, Congressman Richie Torres, actually wrote a letter to the companies that host his podcast. And he said he's an apologist for October 7th, but also he's anti-American and an apologist for 9/11. That
Dude. Think about Richie Torres, who's supposed to be a progressive. You're a YouTuber podcaster now. I mean, I do have a YouTube. I do have a podcast. You've covered more news in the clip they showed than they are. Oh my God, you're right. I didn't even think about that.
Coming from a New York Democrat, sitting member of Congress. So as this is now, if he's being hailed as the hero for Democrats, just look into the things that are coming out of his own mouth and what other people in his party are saying about him.
You know, Conch, it's just so striking how people will just become so enamored with someone no matter what they say, no matter what they do.
Yeah, like Luigi Mangione, right? Who's raised more than $500,000 as a GoFundMe page, a guy who shot a father of 2 in the back about 5 blocks north of here in New York City. When I hear about this guy as a very popular podcaster, I don't doubt it, but he is appealing to a very far left part of the Democratic Party. A guy like Joe Rogan brings in people from all sorts of ideological stripes.
Yeah, if I didn't actually bring in people from all different sorts of ideological stripes and actually actively change their minds and not become a funnel like Joe Rogan is for the he's a funnel for the Republican Party. I am not a funnel for the Democrats, no matter how much the far left radicals, the actual radicals in my community keep saying I am. You literally went on Theo Vaughn. What the fuck are they talking about? I know. That's what it is. 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 It's like, hey, you're radicalizing people. And I'm radicalizing them away from what this shit is. Ironically enough, I am de-radicalizing people from being right-wing. And hopefully I am de-radicalizing people from being right-wing in the liberal fashion as well.
was a Democrat for a very long time, once supported Bernie Sanders, and now he's bringing in all sorts of different people, 12 million people a day on his podcast. Look, this guy has said, to Lauren's point, he advocates for violence against Israelis, or at least says it's no big deal. He cheers on.
It's not. All right. If we're just making stuff up, hey, respect. Cutie, Mick Biddy, thank you for the 50 gifted subs to a radical Antifa terror operative. Remember, that was the shit that was popping first Trump administration. Now what's popping is we went from radical Antifa to radical Islamist Hasanabi. Oh my God, we're gonna have someone in mainstream media call me Hasanabi by accident. Oh my God. Now that's defamation. Oh, whatever. No, you guys are crazy. No, dude. No, I am a public figure. You guys are delusional. Okay? Unless they say something so insane with actual malicious, provable malicious intent, which the editorial team of Fox News is not going to make that mistake. Okay? Even if I had him dead to rights with defamation, like I might have Ethan with his own acknowledgement, why the f is every one of my Amerifats in the audience literally constantly talking about litigation, bro? Oh my God, we do need tort reform in this country. Holy shit, I'm becoming a reactionary conservative. Unironically, what is this? Why are we the most litigious nation on the planet, dude? Every American goes, oh, my burger? Oh, my burger. This guy said something mean about you. Time to sue. Calm down, man. Holy shit. This actually is something that I'm realizing. I feel like I'm not as litigious as the average. I'm not as litigious as the average American is, I think.
Islamic terrorist. He's a guy who says if you're pro-Israel, therefore you're a neo-Nazi. And what does the New York Times do?
I mean, yeah, thank you for saying that, because I do believe that. Yes, I think that if you're a Zionist, then yeah, you believe in a fascist ideology. Why does that offend you? Maybe you should, I don't know, re-examine that. Maybe you should think about that a little bit.
It writes a glowing puff piece on this guy. I mean, an AOC, to your point, Bernie Sanders as a Jew sits down with this person after that. That's unbelievable. And AOC, that's not surprising because she's...
Yeah, wow. That's unbelievable. Bernie Sanders as a Jew, how dare you sit down with someone who might disagree with you on the issue of Israel to a certain degree, but still understands the importance of building solidarity amongst the working class as one of the only games in town in terms of being able to translate working class messaging and agitative propaganda to a broad audience of Americans who are completely deluded to class politics. How could that happen? Wow. Dude, something that I always find very funny, and I've mentioned this before, is the proclivity of Christian Zionists to call out Jewish people in a way where they literally act like they are more Jewish than the Jewish person. It's like it almost, I guess, gives them permission to be hateful and anti-Semitic. I see WASPs doing this shit all the time. What comes to mind immediately is Missouri's very own Josh Hawley telling a liberal Zionist from Next, an organization that literally is an organization that in and of itself is not particularly anti-Israel, okay? It literally is pro-Israel. It's a pro-Israel organization. Telling a liberal Zionist Jewish man wearing an IDF badge on his chest that he doesn't know what the he's talking about dealing with anti-Semitism. He's like, how dare you, Jew, respond to me, a Christian man, about how I should be dealing with anti-Semitism. I will fight anti-Semitism better than you, Jew. Get out of my face. Like, it's pretty nutty. American WASPs that are pro-Israel literally think they are the Pope of the Jews, okay? Not any Jewish person, just they are the real arbiters of or designators of who is true to the faith and who isn't. Yeah, this was what I was talking
asked
about.
about an investigation for failing to protect Jewish students, and you said that's
But
just
this isn't who I'm
weaponizing
talking about.
anti-Semitism. It makes
is-
students less safe.
It is when the
I think that's
Department of
crazy.
No. This is the guy. This is a different guy. This is the guy who actually wrote the IHRA definition, who is literally doing this congressional, which makes it even funnier, I guess. This is the guy who wrote the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which ties it back to Israel. Okay? Like criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic. Now, what's funny about this is that he regretted it because then people started using it for legislation. And he was like, hold on, don't do that, because that would mean, a lot of like valid criticisms of Israel will be used as anti-Semitic, and people will go to jail for criticizing Israel. I didn't mean that. I did not mean that at all. Which ironically has been weaponized to no end in places where that definition has been adopted, like the Eurocuck nations. Okay? He was like, I just wrote this. I didn't think you were going to use it as legislation. Please don't do that. He spent the rest of his life after writing the definition trying to get people to not use it as a vehicle to punish people for free speech. Now, that also is funny, though. It's funny that Josh Hawley is telling this guy who wrote the IHRA definition to not tell him. Didn't Ethan say something big was coming about you yesterday? He might have had something to do with this? No, dude. What? I know. I don't think he said that. But I don't think he has any say in this. This is just because the New York Times wrote a profile on me. He did say that? No, it was probably Saltman who said it. He's the one who's like constantly agitating to try to get the Hasbro network. Fringe Games, thank you for the 100 gifted subs. Listen, all of this is happening not because I'm not because like Dan Saltman actively pushed for it. I'm sure he's trying. I'm sure he's trying to push for it to the best of his ability. But the real reason, those were his clips, so someone had something to do with it. No, the real reason why this is happening is because it worked out. It worked out perfectly as far as all of the subsequent anti-Hasan media hits that are going to come out. There's still more to come for sure. Like, I know there's still, you gotta wait. New York Post already wrote one. They might write a second one. There's going to be, there's most likely going to be more from, there's going to be more coming out. Daily Wire, Daily Mail. I'm surprised they haven't written one yet. Daily Mail was like the first to come out and be like, Hasan wants baby settlers to die. He said baby settlers need to be killed. But yeah. Oh, this is what I was referring to. Yeah. This is the actual one I was talking about.
Here on a student visa. If you're going to commit acts of violence against Jewish students, Jewish Americans, or foreign Jewish students, whomever, we're going to revoke your visa. I mean, you're going home.
So I think on that issue itself.
This is Kevin Racklin, okay? He works for a Zionist organization. And as a liberal Zionist who he still very much loves Israel, he has the IDF dog tag on his chest. He is trying to explain to Josh Hawley that maybe they shouldn't deport people. Maybe they shouldn't deport people because that's a bridge too far and maybe a little too close to Nazi stuff. Okay?
Sorry, I'm trying to think now. It's not, when you're talking about acts of violence and you're talking about actually breaking U.S. law towards students, that is criminal. That should be done through the Justice Department. When we're talking about deportation, that's immigration. So if there is a criminal investigation that leads to deportation, I think that's perfectly acceptable.
Well, I'm talking about student visas. They're here on visas. They're here on particular.
Doing that.
Well, sure, but why don't we write into the process a condition of the visa that if you assault a Jewish student on campus, you're out of here. You're gone.
If. 'Cause, 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 if it was written in the statute and if it was broad enough to be not just be for Jews, but for all people that have experienced discrimination, regardless of who they are, I think that we should look at that. But I think until that is in law, what I'm basing this on is what the current statute says and what currently is being done.
Well, listen, I guess I don't understand the hesitation here at all. To me, this is an easy call, and
He's like, shut up. I know better than you.
Urged the current Secretary of State, Secretary Rubio, to do this. I think he's got the authority to do it. My position is it would send an incredibly clear message. If you come to this country on a student visa, you are here as a guest of the United States for particular purposes. If you assault a Jewish student on campus, you ought to be out of here. And we ought to make it clear to people we are not going to tolerate it. We're not going to tolerate it. For any reason. Can I just ask you why I have you here, Mr. Permit?
I mean, he ripped into way more, but
He's the same lawmaker who was against the Iron Dome that has saved countless lives in Israel. She didn't want that thing to continue. And if that didn't continue, we're talking about a much different situation in Israel right now.
You know, a guy.
I mean, to be fair, if the Iron Dome didn't exist, Israel probably would not be remotely as violent as it gets to be right now. Like, that's just the truth. You know what I mean? Yeah, if they actually were to ever experience repercussions from their genocidal ambitions, like, they would not do that. And this is perhaps best demonstrated by their retaliation towards Iran. Their retaliation towards Iran, which has the capacity to penetrate the Iron Dome, as they demonstrated, was infinitely more restrained than what they've done to the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip they belligerently occupy. As a matter of fact, they unironically kept punishing the Gazans, punishing the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip over and over again whenever they felt like whenever they felt like they were getting attacked from anyone else. It is a weak country at the end of the day. It is a cowardly country at the end of the day that turns around and attacks people that they have made the most vulnerable.
And then this attempt to try to become the next Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is Joe Rogan because he's Joe Rogan. He's himself. He's authentic. And I think that's what's missing here when you look at all these Democrats who are trying to figure out how to be the next Joe Rogan, because you can't do that. Yeah, and what Joe Concha just said is true. Joe Rogan is not some fire-breathing right-winger. He might seem that way in comparison to Hasan Piker. He's drifted maybe rightward because of the insanity of the left. Now, I thought the premise of this whole thing is that Hasan Piker is perfect for the manosphere and go get those male voters back. If that's what the Democrats want, a bunch of anti-Semitic Hamas supporters, that's one proposition. But all the clips we played of people...
Bro, wouldn't they say that the Democrats are already anti-Semitic Hamas supporters? I don't understand. In that sense, considering that 80% of the Democrats' base of support already has an unfavorable view of Israel, and if anyone has unfavorable opinions of Israel, they're a Hamas supporter and a terrorist, then I'm closer to the Democratic Party's base than any number of these different people are. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really make sense. So how do you look at the actual polling? I'm closer to the Republicans, especially under the age of 35, with my perspective on Israel than these guys are. I'm closer to Joe Rogan on my opinions on Israel than these guys are. These guys are still holding on to the old hat method of just being like, nope, unconditional support to Israel, please. How dare you? How dare you say anything else?
Swooning were, I noticed, women, right? Who seemed enamored of him for, I can't imagine why. They love how smart he is. I'm sure that's the number one reason. One more point from AOC saying, oh, there's all this money coming in to conflate criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism.
It's true. Israel is quite literally, Israel openly admitted that they are spending 10 times more money on Hasbara operations in the West this year to try and get ahead of all of the anti-Israel sentiment that they are seeing in the West. They are doing this. Why is it anti-Semitic to say what Israel has openly said? This is so stupid. It's only anti-Semitic if you say Israel is doing this for Jews, to protect Jews. Ironically, they are being anti-Semitic. Israel has to do Hasbara operations to whitewash their genocide in an effort to protect the Jews is an anti-Semitic statement. But we finally arrived at Fox News also talking about how hot I am.
I am sorry. After October 7th, this is not about criticism of Israel or the Israeli government. The people that we're talking about, like Mahmoud Khalil and Hassan Piker, they chant elimination.
Dude. Mahmoud Khalil, come on. That's crazy. Like, he is a hero, brother. That is crazy. To make this comparison, I am not worthy, okay? I am not worthy of this comparison. That's insane. Dude, no. Until I also go to jail, you know, I don't think that a comparison with myself and someone like Mahmoud Khalil is apt.
Genocidal slogans about the Jewish state. They talk about intifada glowingly. They support Hamas, a genocidal terrorist group with American blood on their hands. It is a fallacy to pretend, oh, we can't criticize the government of Israel. That is not the issue here. These people know that. They just lie constantly.
At least the nickname fits. Piker. Yeah,
I don't know what that was.
Piker, this guy.
Old ass.
So, you know, Lauren, I feel like there's been almost a theme here throughout these last hour and a half, and is that the Democrats are still trying to find a direction. They're still trying to find someone. And it's just so surprising, some of the people who are floating to the top.
Did you see, so maybe a month ago, Pete Buttigieg went on a podcast, an all-male podcast with a largely...
Yeah, the Trump Department of Justice is an anti-Semite task force, and they're looking for blood. For E to say being called a Zionist was worse is crazy. No, I'm sure he will definitely come to my defense if that does end up happening.
Male audience, and the first thing I noticed, and I thought it was just me because I pick up on these little things. I'm like, oh, he looks different. He had a beard, and then going into the podcast, he said a curse word, and I was like, what happened to Pete Buttigieg? They're trying to portray this manly image because they realize they lost a lot of young voters, specifically young men voters, and they're trying to bring them back by bringing manly back again. But I'm not sure this is how you do it.
It's contrived. It's so contrived.
I will say the Big Weekend Show did reach out to Hassan Piker for a comment, and he has not yet responded.
Wait, what? No, they didn't. Hey, yo. What the hell? I don't know why they said that. But yeah, look, Hasbara Op is fully in action. More. Question, you support terrorism. Hassan Piker's response, I don't support the state of Israel, and I don't support the United States of America. Literally doesn't matter. He can prep with whoever he wants. He can prep with Benny Morris if he wants. There is no what you support terrorism, question mark. No, I don't. I don't support the state of Israel, and I don't support the state of the United States of America. Hell yeah. He has multiple posts like Richie Torres did. Yeah. When you see the common chirpers getting agitated, know that like information is passed around. You know what I mean? Like they got their notes. They got their marching orders. The more you are hated, the more your messages spread. Yeah. Israel is doing a genocide with United States support. I'm sorry that people don't like you. Maybe you should. Not one clip of you gaming on their piece. Oh, God. Is this actually dangerous for your livelihood? Like, is it possible this reporting could land you in jail? Who knows, man? Who knows? Maybe. I feel like there's no bad press when you're historically on the right side. I mean, there's definitely bad press. Like, can we auto mod sue them chatters? No. H3 fans will unironically see the Fox News using the same clips and language and won't self-reflect. No, they won't. Yeah, the only reason why I'm worried is because, yeah, this kind of stuff.
Coming up, as some Democrats continue their fight.
This kind of stuff could potentially reach higher office because they do love watching Fox News. You know what I mean? I'm a Palestinian that lives in Israel proper and it's bad. Crime gangs are ravaging throughout our communities. Look, homicide rates in Arab communities versus Jewish ones, and Israel doesn't do anything about it. Yeah. Is there a reason why you say Israel is Am I incorrect that you're superhuman? I'd be in a puddle of tears and anxiety if I had a Fox News comment to my very positively intended, justice-driven actions. Like, genuine question, are you in therapy? No. Or do you have someone that helps you process this? No. I've only been able to conclude superhuman abilities? No. I am very stubborn, though. I am very, very stubborn. And I think that's what it is for the most part. But yeah, as far as I know, I was not contacted by Fox News to respond for a comment, because that one I would have responded to because it's funny if I knew. Because like I won't respond to like obvious hit pieces from Hosborough papers like New York Post or whatever. But if it's Fox News on the timeline, like if I knew that it was gonna be on video, I would have tried to go on. You know, they 100% reached out to a fan channel, maybe. I'm a fan of Fox News, dude. It'd be an honor. It would be a freaking honor. I will say, never in my experience, like in my life, in my career, I've been pressed hard, okay? Super hard. I've been under constant threat, doxing, swatting, harassment campaigns, hit pieces. But I will say, most of the time, those hit pieces stay on the right-wing orbit and doesn't have like any sort of serious motion. But I will tell you this much. There's only one group that has like at least some semblance of institutional legitimacy, institutional motion, that is wild enough to go after someone with the same severity as like my cyber stalkers, and that is the pro-Israeli advocacy groups. And they do actually have motion. Like they do have the capacity to get press. And it's not an accident that when I get written up about in the New York Times that there's a bunch of hit pieces that come out, and I'm sure many will come out even after today. But the reason why is because like if my haters in the past tried to go to like anti-white racism, the anti-white racism route, the only place where they can get motion is like brigading LSF. But now they can actually brigade the ADL, and the ADL will, and other pro-Israel advocacy groups will excitedly engage in the same kind of operations. Because like Canary Mission and all of these other subsequent pro-Israeli organizations that are tasked with like doxing people and getting them fired are a sophisticated network that has existed for many, many years. Okay? They've been operating inside of U.S. borders and trying to, and actively getting people fired for many, many years. Was debate a mistake? There was too many posts from people saying they never want to listen to YouTube/streamers about major topics/news. Yeah, I don't really care if they say that. If they think that like, you know, I am also I'm also my advocacy and my coverage is also similar to someone talking about like a bleach sword as a indication of anti-Semitism, then there's not much I can do. I think for the most part, people that don't listen to the news are saying that. Do you think he has nothing to do with this? No, I don't think Ethan has anything to do with this, chatter. You're giving him too much credit. No. I think I think the biggest reason why this happened is because of the New York Times puff piece. Because when stuff like that happens, the pro-Israel advocacy orgs will do everything they can to pollute the SEO. Do you see what I'm saying? So that like when my name gets brought up, the first shit that comes up is like always mean and nasty and awful things that present me in a bad light. What is SEO? Search engine optimization. But yeah, I mean the Fox News bit wasn't that bad. Do you regret doing the New York Times piece? No. I wouldn't say he has nothing to do with it. He's part of the environment that paints you as an anti-Semite, and they use this story Sure, he wasn't personally involved in this piece, but he's a part of the larger campaign. No, absolutely. But I'm not going to give him credit for like moving mountains. You know what I mean? He's just a piece of the puzzle. Are you okay, King? Yes, I am okay. I'm surprised they didn't say you supported 9/11. No, they did. They did. It is always funny though to see like the so-called free speech advocates going, oh, there's a guy right here. Bro, how is this man still on Twitch? I've seen people be banned for less. Nice, dude. Yeah, they did compare me to Luigi Mangione, which was kind of crazy.